I've listened to you since about 1993, and it's the first time I've come to a seminar. I've always known that I was a very powerful creator. And my question to you is, I've been in a relationship for the last 2 years, and our coming together, I totally realized that I attracted it, and he also attracted it. And, one of the girls this morning, I couldn't come up with the question that I wanted to ask you because it's been such a powerful 2 years. And the question is that the contrast in my relationship is so huge. And it's just as huge as the joy.
Well, joy is part of the contrast. In other words, the potential is there and the variety is there for you to choose from. In other words, it's like a relationship smorgasbord. You can take and eat the parts you like and leave the rest. Contrast is a good thing. Would you rather have a limited smorgasbord?
No, I wouldn't. I think that my frustration is that he's a pessimistic and I am an optimistic, and I'm otter.
He's not always that, and you are not always that. And so that's part of the buffet that you can participate in or not. What you are saying, here is a relationship that is not all perfect, and the imperfect parts trouble me. And we say, well, we've been talking about that in broader terms today. Here is what I deem an imperfect world, and the imperfect parts trouble me. And we say, well, you can use that as your excuse not to allow the energy to flow, or you can be a better selective sifter and find the parts in the buffet called world experience that please you, and you can do the same thing within any or every relationship. Part of you is doing what almost everybody does. You're saying, well, it could be a better relationship if these things were not there. And we say, it would be a different relationship maybe, but these things do not have to be out of his experience or out of your experience in order for you to have the perfect relationship. You get to extract from this potential that which is most pleasing to you. And when you give yourself the power and the control to do that, you'll let the other off the hook. We would rather it be like this. Then you have a pleaser hanging on your every word, looking for endless ways to please you, teaching you conditional love, which does not work. We would far rather have a selfish, independent, disconnected, raging, unpleasant person in your experience than someone that's kissing up to you in all kinds of different ways, trying to get you to feel better through their behavior. Because when someone behaves to you like that, all they do is set you up for failure in every other relationship, because nobody else cares enough to stand on their head in all those different ways. When you discover how to stay connected, even though your partner isn't, a big load of resistance will be released from him for this reason. Somehow, along his physical trail, many of you will relate to this. He has taken it upon himself. I want you to hear this in the back of the room. We're talking to you about the teenage children. Somehow he has taken it upon himself to be the keeper of your joy. And when he looks into a world that through his current eyes does not hold that much joy, he feels like a failure to you, a failure to himself. And in essence, you enhance that because you say things like, I can't be happy unless you're happy. Think about what a burden that is. Now, we're going to make a blanket statement. It's never exactly accurate to do this, but it may be helpful to you. Most men
cheat.
Just want you to be happy. And when you're not, they take it personally. Because you've trained them to do so.
It's true.
And then their every behavior makes you unhappy. They feel unhappy that you're unhappy. And their desire to be with you fades dramatically. Because even more than most of you women, they remember more powerfully and profoundly their desire to feel that free, glorious, happy state of being. So what we're saying to you is, the more you make your happiness seem dependent upon their behavior, the worse their behavior becomes.
Right.
They don't mean it to be that way. It's a sort of vibrational thing that happens. In the moment that you say to them and really mean it, and you've got to mean it before you say it or it doesn't make any difference. In the moment that you really get it, that my happiness is my job and I'm once and for all going to let you off the hook for the way I feel, you will give them a leverage of freedom that in most cases will turn the tide in almost every relationship without exception. Think how free you would feel if the one you love the most looked at you and said and really meant, I'm no longer holding you responsible for my happiness. You can come home late if it serves you. You can order different food if it pleases you. You cannot clean your room or not pick up your towel. Or, in other words, I'm no longer going to hold you to the things that I've been holding you to. In other words, I'm going to finally let you be free. And begin making the announcement to the universe and to your mate. I'm happy no matter what you do. Now hear that. Feel that resonate clear through you.
I do focus wheels and
why is it about that? There's something really big here. I promise you, these are your relationship vows. I promise you, for as long as we be together, that from this point forward, my happiness is no longer dependent upon anything you do. How does that feel? Some of you are not liking it very much because
I have to take responsibility for my own happiness. And
there's another piece to it too, and it is that,
I mean, intellectually I know that, but there does feel like a bigger piece.
You believes that things would go really wrong if it were not for the restraints that you were holding.
Say that again.
There's a part of you that believes that things would go really wrong if it were not for the restraints that you were holding. In other words, there's a part of you that believes that if it were not for your marriage vows, if it were not for your promises of commitment, that your partners would go astray. There's a part of you that believes that the human nature of man and woman, we mean humanity, is so renegade and so wrong that if it were not for God's rules or the secular rules, that you would all go amok. There was a television program the other day that Esther was watching, a piece of something that she saw somewhere, where someone was announcing to the children, one of the little children who had become very influential in the group was announcing to the other children, my dad says there is no devil. And in that moment, all of the little children became as bad as they could possibly be. And the implication was that it was only fear of the devil that was holding them in check. And this is the thing that's so wrong with all of this. In other words, that is the feeling that is upside down when you think in terms of assisting the teenagers. It is this underlying feeling that if it is not for the restraint, if it is not for some sort of holding ourselves in check, if it is not for this holding back the reins, if it is not for this limitation that we are applying to one another, then everything would go screwy and everything would fall apart in a horrible way, when in truth, the opposite is true. Well-being is flowing. If it were not for the limiting restraints, the well-being would be flowing to all of you. In other words, we're doing a sales job here, wanting to assist you in finding different ways to once and for all let your own well-being in. We could talk endlessly about the excuses that you use not to let it in, and most of it is about what somebody else is doing or about what somebody else is thinking about you. But the bottom line of it is, the way you feel is your indication about whether you're allowing it or whether you're not, and nothing else comes into it or not. So, in short, what we are finally getting round to is to say to you that it does not matter what the behavior of your lover is. You can have ecstasy in this relationship with this other one once you decide that your joy is not dependent upon his behavior, which means even if he chooses to be miserable, you can still be joyful in the relationship. And you know what? When you discover that, his joy will raise tremendously, because we think that you don't realize how tied the two of you are in all of this. The greatest gift that you could ever give to anyone is to be happy anyway. So someone says, I've been unfaithful, and you say, that doesn't have anything to do with my happiness. Someone says, I spent all of our money. You say, that doesn't have anything to do with my happiness. Someone says, I don't look the way I looked when we met. I don't. Push the rewind button. In other words, there is nothing you say to everyone that you care about, and even those that you are coming to meet. There is nothing that you could do or say or be that I will ever use as my excuse not to be joyful. Do you realize the freedom that you would be giving to them who care about what you think? And as more are feeling that way, then perhaps more can come back to the connection with Source.
Abraham, I think on some level I do know that. It's like really knowing it, though. Really knowing it. And really...
Sometimes people say, well, Abraham, you are teaching selfishness. And we say, we really are. You must be so selfish that nothing is more important than that you feel good. So think about how that wraps around itself. I'm so selfish. I want so much to feel good. That as I look into the experience that is you, I'm going to find something that's going to make me feel good. Ultimate selfishness, ultimate upliftment, ultimate allowing, ultimate well-being. And when you achieve that vibration, only that which is a vibrational match to your well-being can come to you. So all those relationships around you begin to transform, and you say, aha, I knew there was an ulterior motive to it. And we say, the ulterior motive must always be, I want to feel good, and I want to free you to the same. We've given you a great deal to think about in that. It is very, very big, and it is at the heart of everything that goes wrong in everything that you know. Once you get your thoughts around that, and once you really, 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 really mean it, that you are determined to feel good in spite of what anybody else is doing. A mother cannot love her children and worry about her children at the same time. Isn't that a mouthful? When you decide that you are no longer going to use your children as your excuse not to feel good, you free them, and most of their rebellion leaves in that moment. It is very big. Good, you're complete, Pinky, yeah.